I just want to give you a bit of an insight into the AFL Enjoys team. We're a bunch of unique individuals, Matsa, Sfenda, and Dean. We're going to engage with our minds and our hearts. We're going to exchange ideas, thoughts, and even our energy. And to speak from your heart, you need to have courage. You need to be honest and authentic. We're not always going to get it right, and sometimes you're not going to agree with us. But that's okay, because just like you, we care. Just like you, we're passionate about the game. So if you want to come along for the ride, join us at the AFL Enjoys podcast, because we really enjoy the footy. Hello and welcome back to the AFL Enjoys podcast. Back with the boys. Trade period is done, free agency done, and now we have all eyes towards the draft. But we'll go through some of the ins and outs of every team today and just see what we think about what they've done.
Yeah, let's go through winners and losers. You know, we're going to be a bit harsh, one or the other. There's no in between for us today.
Yeah, no sitting on the fence.
Nah.
Yeah, no fence sitting at all.
So basically North winner, Carlton winner, everyone else loses. Is that
Yeah.
As always, yeah.
That's it.
Well, look, let's go through teams in alphabetical order. So we've got Adelaide Crows, right? They've brought in Chris Burgess, who was an excellent forward in the VFL this season, mature age player. And that's it in terms of players. And they've had Tom Duday leave and also Shane McAdam.
Yeah, look, there's a little bit of a positive that they moved up the draft board slightly, I believe. Well, they got 10 and 14. So that's not too
and
bad.
20.
Yeah, and 20. So that's pretty nice. But generally, they went after a big fish in Harrison Petty, who we'll have a quick chat about, I reckon. And they didn't get him. And in the meantime, they also lost Duday and McAdam. I think they're a loser for me. But it's teetering, to be honest with you. Like if I had to choose one or the other, they're a loser.
Yeah, I'd probably say the same. Like if you're looking at what their list this year, now what they've added with Burgess, doesn't make them that much better of a team. Duday was injured, but still he's probably best 22 defender if he's in the team. Shane McAdam's talented, but hasn't really made a splash. I think if they can nail the draft picks, which you won't know for a couple of years, but they do have an opportunity to really nail this draft.
Yep.
So that could change things in the future. Just from players ins and out, though, it's probably is a loss.
Yep. No,
Yeah,
I agree.
I tend to agree. I mean, they were really close to finals this year. And then you'd think if they could just get a few big-time deals done, that would sort of solidify their place. But they're sort of a bit unknown next year again. How much will they improve internally? The draft picks, like you said. I'd probably say they're a loser too, but maybe they've already got most of the pieces they need ready to develop.
Well, that's the thing. If you're assessing winners and losers, you kind of have to look at what the team needs and did they address that. So what do we think Adelaide needs to be better is probably more of the question.
Look, I think they needed more key position help because they lost Duday, who they kind of showed the door to. They got Burgess, who sort of replaces him, but they needed more, other than that anyway, because their key position stocks were really. It was a bit tough for them this year.
Heavily relying on Taylor Walker, who's old.
Yeah,
as well in the forward line.
Yeah, they had a bunch of untried key positions playing, and who did okay. They did okay, but there's no really solid, key defenders that they can rely on to play 22 games. So, yeah. But no, if they have a good draft, then get rid of what I just said, man. If they have a good draft, then they're a winner. But yeah.
Yep. And they've also kept Matty Crouch. I mean, there was all that talk, he wasn't in the team. Then he came in late, played a good role.
He could still get delisted, to be honest with you. It wouldn't surprise me if they dropped him in the next few days. But
I think they could use the depth, to be honest.
Yeah.
But
well, they need more contested players, I think, in the midfield.
Yeah, that's what I think.
That allows Jordan Dawson to be a bit more outside as well, a bit more damaging. So I think that's why they were so heavily linked to Oliver, and why we're if they've got Oliver, that changes things. But there wasn't really a big kind of super midfielder that was available in that trade period either. I don't think there was a lot of elite players available for trading this time around.
And that's why they went after Petty, which Matsa mentioned. Huge money apparently thrown at him, long-term deal. And we were all sort of scratching our heads, especially considering Petty, he's been a good defender and then he went forward, had a few good games, got injured. And Matsa, you asked us during the week, what does Petty need to do to justify why they were really chasing him? I'm not sure. If he's going to be a forward, he needs to be kicking over 50 goals, right? Considering the money they're offering him.
Yeah, I think if he kicks at least 40 goals
I think
for
40,
Melbourne,
yeah.
and with that, they need to have a proper structure in the forward line. So if he's 40 goal forward, creates structure in their forward line, him, Van Rooyen, McAdam, and Fritsch work it out, then I think that they could justify that type of money. But again, also, you do need to overpay to get someone to leave their current club generally as well. So you got to factor that in as well. But
Yeah, when we get to Melbourne, we'll probably mention it a bit more, but the fact that Joel Smith is under some heat at the moment, Melbourne's probably pretty happy they've got Petty still.
Yeah, good call, man.
yeah.
No, we'll definitely get to that. But next up is Brisbane. So they've brought in Tom Duday from the Crows and also Brandon Ryan, who was a mid-season pickup for the Hawks. And they've gotten rid of Tom Fullerton and Jack Gunston.
Gunston's a fascinating one, isn't it?
Didn't work out.
No, it didn't work out. But I don't think that's a loss for Brisbane since he wasn't even in their their grand final team. So if that means he's not best 22, right?
Not really, yeah.
It's funny. I'm almost thinking of changing my rules of has to be a winner or a loser because this is such a meh.
You're so confident.
I know. I had it like
winner, loser, and meh. Let's do meh.
Yeah, because I think this one's kind of meh, but I'm between meh and winner here because Duday is a great pickup. Like if he can get his body right, like between him and Harrison Andrews, they're going to be chopping up everything going into the forward line. And Brandon Ryan, like obviously I like the fact that they've seen a guy that they really like and they've just may have overpaid a future second, but they're like, you know what? We've seen enough potential in this guy that we want him. So that kind of makes me think that they're a winner.
For me, I consider them slightly a loser only because it didn't work out with Gunston, but why didn't it? It should have been a better marriage considering the finals experience he has. He's only 31. It's not like he's old to the point of like career done. He's got probably 2 or 3 years of footy left.
I don't know why I thought that dude's been playing for like 15 years, man.
Because he has, almost.
Yeah, but he's not like, it's like 31 isn't that old. You know what I mean? Like that's still a solid 2-3 years, especially because he's never relying on his athleticism either.
So I sort of think if like Duday is a big risk, they've given him big money, he's injury prone. If it all works out, great. But also at the same time, you've lost a really experienced forward that unfortunately didn't help them this year, but probably should have. And that was a bit of a failure for no apparent reason, in my opinion.
What does Brisbane have to bring into their team to take that small little step they needed for the flag, though? Nothing here.
Nothing here. I mean, they've got Fletcher developing. Will Ashcroft will come back. Next year, they're going to be gifted Levi Ashcroft, Will's brother, who's apparently just as good as him.
Wow.
So
I don't know if he's that good. Yeah, really.
He's been very good this year as an underage. So you'd imagine he'd improve again next year.
Yeah.
So
I don't know where I was reading, but someone was saying that the lockdown small forward or medium forward small defender or general sort of defender isn't probably quite as good as it could be. Like, because obviously they've got a couple decent runners in Wilmot and Kitty Coleman, but the lockdown guy, like Noah Answorth, who they had for a bit, who's been injured, maybe he's someone who comes in and helps them out. I don't know. The team's actually really good. It's hard to really pick faults.
Yeah,
it's a very good team.
Fair enough, boys.
Next one. What was your thoughts? Winner or loser, Georgie?
I think it's a bit of a meh, to be honest.
Fair enough.
And I think Adelaide's a bit of a meh if we're using meh as a indicator, to be honest.
Winner, loser, or meh. Fair enough. Next up is the Blues. So,
speaking of meh,
what do you guys think?
The Blues brought in Elijah Hollands, who has really high potential. Obviously, top 5 pick a few years ago, injury prone. Actually, they drafted him injured. So to be fair, it's not like he's just gone south since getting drafted. They bought into that. But his most recent game was in that VFL Grand Final on ball, 30 touches, looked like an animal. So bringing him in, losing Dow, is it sort of the potential of one young midfielder just bringing in another one with potential? It's a bit interesting.
Yeah, I think it's an upgrade on Dow.
His talent level, I think he has more skill.
Yep.
But then you're losing Fisher, who, yes, wasn't in your 22 in the finals, but, certainly has talent.
Yeah, he does. Look, I think I'm obviously very biased, so maybe your guys' opinion is a bit more, but I think it's just a pass mark. I don't think it's bad, though. The thing about, like, the fact that we got Hollands in the last minute, I think makes it a positive trade period. because it addresses a need, and we need more of that half forward half kind of player. We need smalls, but we also need like a Jack Martin type that is consistent, right? So this guy, like Dow, is an inside mid, and that's it. And he's our sixth best midfielder. Hollands, though, I think can find a way to fit into the 22 because he's got a bit more of that forward half damage. He can kick the ball from outside 50, kick a couple of goals. He can play inside mid. So I think he can develop in this current Carlton team, whereas Dow he has to wait for Hewitt or Kennedy or someone to get injured to play. So I think it's an upgrade for Carlton's needs. Fisher, he is a talented player. I guess the win or loss will be whether Carlton got enough compensation for him. So,
I think I'm going to go tentative winner for Carlton just because Holland's super high potential to play the half forward role that you guys need and to pinch hit into the middle as well.
Yeah.
But I think splitting Zach Fisher, who was surplus to your needs at this point, and I don't think you guys really wanted to is he 2 years left on the contract? I don't think you guys really wanted to, have him on the books. So to split that into 2 seconds that aren't too much further back from the pick that you gave up, I think it's a win. But it's not a strong win. It's just
it's relatively uneventful, but we'll see. I'm interested to see what Hollands becomes, and I'm interested to see what Fisher and Dow become because all three of these players have been a little bit starved of opportunity. Dow starved from the inside role. Fisher starved from a specific position to just make his own, and Holland's Gold Coast's own admission was the fact that they were playing him out of position on the wing, but also he's had some injuries that affected his development. So it's interesting to see. Carlton might think that it's a little bit even in the draft later on in the 15 to 30. So they feel like if it's pick 26, pick 28, pick 21, they still might be able to find some opportunity. If that's the case, then pushing back that pick may not affect them that much. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, draft boards tend to get a bit, different once you exit the top 10, 15. So it could be quite likely that you rate a player 15th that will slide to 25.
Yep.
So, and usually as well, teams that finish in the finals can be a bit more picky about who they draft because they've got specific needs to fill. So, I'll probably give this, if we're having the meh, then I'll probably give it a meh to win.
Yeah.
Like meh 0.5 potentially. So,
meh 0.5. That's the new category.
Meh 0.5. Awesome. So Collingwood now, they've brought in Lockie Schultz, which was a big surprise. We didn't even talk about it on the last pod. And they've lost Ginnivan and Adams.
Schultz is better than Ginnivan, though.
Yes.
So this is a team that's just won the flag. You expect them to be up there again. And they've upgraded their small forward position. And they've lost Adams, who wasn't in the grand final team, the premiership team. So you could say it's a win.
Yeah.
That's fair. I'm going to give the opposing argument where I don't know if Lockie Schultz is that much better than Ginnivan. Because Ginnivan did score about 40 goals as a 19-year-old.
He scored a lot of goals in his first half of his first year, but a lot of it was from free kicks. It's dried up a bit now.
True. Well, I guess if you take that into account, then maybe it's all right that maybe it is a big upgrade. But if it isn't that big an upgrade, they really didn't sell like Ginnivan for much.
Yeah.
And they paid a big price for Schultz. So I'm kind of meh, maybe loser. Maybe loser. I don't know, man. I don't know. It just depends how good Schultz is. Well, Schultz could be that, imagine if he's good as he's advertised, plus Bobby Hill, plus Jamie Elliott.
Yeah.
They could be huge winners.
Because it fits their game style. They're not going to change the way they play. And the thing about Schultz, he's only 25. I thought he was old. He's not.
Oh, nice.
I think he's a bit slept on considering playing in Perth.
I think he is,
Look, overall, Collingwood's lost a good young player in Ginnivan, a good leader in Adams, and also their future first-round pick just for Schultz. Really.
Yeah.
Not that was the deal. But
they're trying to compete for back-to-back.
Correct. So for them, they obviously would think that's a good win because they're ready to go again next year. But I think overall, just looking at everything all together, I would probably say slight loss long-term, but short-term, they're still going to be top 2 next year.
Yeah.
So...
fair enough. All right.
That's the Pies there. Then we've got the Bombers. Very active.
We can't... You have to say winner. Yeah. You have to say winner. I think if without the Dersma part, I might have been meh on it. Just because you're overpaying Gresham, you're overpaying Mackay. But nah, with Dersma, in as well, they're winners for sure, man. That's 1, 2, 3, 4 guys who go into their best 22. They still have pick 9 as well.
Yeah, that's the big one, I think.
So yeah, and that could be 5 players, into their best 22, come the start of next season. So I think they're huge winners, mate.
Yeah, I'd agree. And, there's obviously Ben Mackay, has a lot of potential and he's still young. Or still young for a key. So he can kind of hold that position in their backline. I think Jade Gresham is highly talented. Dersma I've always liked. He's a big runner. So it might give Essendon some more versatility with what they do with their other wingers as well. Swing them around. And Goldstein addresses an immediate need for not much. So... Can Essendon make finals finally and do something? Who knows?
Probably not.
I'm not convinced, but...
The Dersma one for me, very interesting, because usually when, like say Port Adelaide wanting a player from Essendon, Zerk Thatcher, it's pretty natural for the team losing the player to say, okay, well, give us this guy. But it actually worked out for the first time in a while, where the team wanting the player sort of had some internal cap issues or like potential cap issues where they're open for someone to leave.
Yeah.
And the Bombers like, you know what, we actually kind of need that guy. And it just sort of worked out really well to do a player trade, which doesn't happen too often of players of decent caliber. So, look, the Bombers, I think, they've filled needs on their list, and that's all you can ask for of a team. So, definitely a winner for me.
Next one might be one of the biggest L's.
You have to say it's an L. You have to say it's an L.
It's definitely losers in this draft period. The thing is, they didn't bring anyone in.
We didn't say it's Fremantle.
Yeah, Fremantle. Yeah, of course. Yeah. Fremantle, Joel Hamling out, not an issue for them. But Liam Henry and Lockie Schultz are out. And although they're getting 2 future firsts for the next draft after this year their first pick is 34. So the immediate, result of this draft period is we're going to lose dudes and still have nothing to play with in the draft. That sucks.
And that's all because of the Luke Jackson trade last year, right? So
interesting. And the thing is, didn't they get our picks last year? Our future 2nd and 3rd? What happened to those?
They were last year's draft.
Oh, they were in last year's draft.
That's how they got Johnson.
Yeah. Of course. I don't know why they thought they were futures. It sucks for them. Look, the positive is obviously next year they're going to have 3 first rounders to play with. I don't know how they're going to, divvy up those assets.
They could trade. Move them into this year. There's still trades to go with picks only, so they could get back into this draft.
That's true.
True.
But for now, just looking at it, definite losers.
If you look at their best 22 team, though, they've lost a good winger that's got averaging 30 possessions when he was playing that role, and Lockie Schultz, who's one of their leading goal kickers. So they just slash them straight from the 22, and they all were already bad this year.
And Walter's not getting any younger, showing inconsistencies.
Fife ain't getting back to his thing.
Fife done.
They got some good young players. There's no doubt, but
Erasmus.
there's a couple of good. We can name a couple of good players, but what are they going to do next year? They haven't fixed any issues. They've just lost some good players.
Yeah, they're really reliant on like development from young guys and. Progression isn't linear. So you can't guarantee that these young guys are going to just, come up and be good. So that would have been a tough 3-4 weeks for Freo fans, man. That's rough.
And considering as well, last year they did make finals. This year, half step back. You then hope to then go
Didn't they
ahead
finish
again.
5th?
Yeah, they were good last year. So you maybe overachieve, then you take that half step back, and then the expectation that you relaunch. But now with a few of these things happening, that relaunch is looking a bit unlikely.
It's a bit shaky. It's a bit shaky.
But look, some work to be done maybe in the draft, but for now, definite losers.
Another loser.
Yeah, this is lovely, this one.
Yeah,
so
it's nice. They finally lost the draft period.
Geelong,
trade period.
Who arrived in for them? Nobody.
No one.
They lose Asava on the last day. They've got pick 8 and 25 and then later picks, but for Geelong, really, it did not get better. They were a loser this year.
And they didn't address the midfield either, which I think is what they needed.
Yeah. There's that. And then the fact that all their really top line players are old. Where are they going, man? Where are they going? They need to try to get better now, and it's not happening.
And there's issues with Tom Hawkins' contract apparently.
I think he re-signed.
He did in the end
for a year. I'm pretty sure. But again, Tom Hawkins Cameron, Dangerfield, Tom Stewart,
Guthrie.
Guthrie. Those are their best players, basically. Apart from Guthrie, those 4 are their best players. And they're all old, I don't know how old Tom Stewart is.
I think Tom Stewart's right. The reason I mentioned Guthrie is Guthrie didn't play much this year, but he'll come back into midfield. But how old is he? Dangerfield's ancient. These players. Tom Hawkins took a real step back this year. His first real step back in his age. So I don't expect him to get better next year.
Yeah.
It's probably just another slow decline. So yeah, it's good. I think the Cats might suck next year.
it's good. It's good for the competition. I like it.
Well, look, we know they've got good players still. Like the Henry brothers, solid. Especially the younger one, Jack.
No, Jack Henry.
Jack Henry, yes.
Yeah.
Oliver Henry's the.
He's the forward. He's the Collingwood one.
Yeah. So sorry, him. He's really good. And obviously Cameron, if he can stay fit. So it's hard to gauge how they're going to go next year, but in terms of their trade period, pretty woeful, to be honest.
Does Radigali affect them a lot?
I don't think as much as it would if it was another team, because they're pretty strong in defence usually.
Well, it just means Sam DeConning takes the biggest forward. Tom Stewart's still going to be intercepting. Jack Henry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Colin Jasny as well.
Yeah, he's not really a key position, but still, they'll be fine. They'll be fine.
They're
It's
a pretty
not that
good
bad.
unit back there generally.
Yeah.
They'll
And
be
they probably have some other random Geelong VFL dude who's just like, oh yeah, this guy's one of the best defenders in the competition right now. Like, and they always seem
Unleash their trump card.
Yeah, that's it, man.
Yeah.
They, what's it called? They activate their trap card.
Yeah. They spin the Beyblade.
No, just spin the. Oh man.
So Gold Coast is next, right? They brought in nobody, but
It's a win.
yeah,
It's
it's
a
a win for
huge
them
win.
because they just were all about the draft. They've got 3 high-end picks coming in that they'll match bids on from their academy. They lose Burgess, Chol, and Hollands, none of which were in their first 22. Maybe they could have been, but weren't ultimately.
It doesn't matter.
For the purpose of their off-season, they nailed it.
And they got into the next year's draft as well a little bit as well. So they're a huge win for them. Huge win for them. Well navigated, trying to get all those picks, all the points to match those bids.
I just find Chol funny. Damon Harwood comes in and says, Chol, I've seen this guy.
Yeah.
Gone.
Didn't I tell you to leave?
What are you still doing here?
I will say, though, just if I can criticise, you have drafted Elijah Hollands in the top 5 not long ago, and he's already gone. For me, as a team that hasn't played finals before, you can't really be throwing away those high-end picks.
But they've done that. They've done that already.
I know,
For
but it's happened
a lot
again.
of other players.
Yeah. And with him especially, like you've drafted him injured. It's a couple of years and he's only played a few AFL games.
Yeah.
Not good enough.
So there was the thing he got. Did he get caught with an illicit substance?
Was that just recently?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but that was before the trade.
You reckon?
That's what they're saying.
I don't know. That's a bit interesting timing there with that
Well,
one.
does that mean that Gold Coast was more willing to get rid of him as a result?
I reckon.
Oh, probably.
If you're
but
asking
then
me,
That's
come on.
good.
Here's
That's
the
good for Carlton.
Here's the thing. He was caught. That's all it is, because all players are. Not all, but I'd say there's a high percentage of players
A lot of
who are
players
doing
are
the
getting-
same thing as Elijah Hollands and Joel Smith and Clary,
Yeah.
but they're just not caught. And Ginnivan, all those lads, you know what I mean?
To go surely.
Oh, yeah. Anyway, let's not talk into the behavioural
So
issues
we don't
of
know.
AFL
We don't
players.
know at
Yeah,
all.
we know, but it makes sense. It's like these guys are in their mid-20s, got big money. Like, you're going to do dumb stuff. Like,
Yeah.
Anyway.
If it helps Carlton get a cheaper pick, I'm down for it, man.
Yeah, fair enough.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
Okay, so the next team, the Giants. Now, they brought in nobody and
Super meh.
lost Matty Flynn.
They're going to get a good player in pick 7, though.
Depends who they want, I guess. Like, it's interesting who's going to fall there.
Yeah.
Like, is it Curtin could fall there? Caddy could fall there.
O'Sullivan.
Or Sullivan, yeah. So they honestly, they're just meh because I don't really think they needed to do anything. Their team's really solid.
Yeah.
And they might pick up Fantasia as a rookie player as well. He could really help them if he gets his body right. So I'm not too concerned for them.
They nearly made the grand final. So
Exactly.
1 point.
Yeah. So meh. Not a winner, not a loser. Just
Yep.
they didn't really have anything to do, really. I don't know.
Yeah. No, I agree. That's a fair assessment. The Hawks, though, they were very busy in the end. So they've brought in Ginnivan. Gunston's back. They got Chol. A few teams are interested. And they gave him the longest deal, most money, and then D'Ambrosio comes in as well. But they lost Brockman, Kazitsky, and Ryan. Winners for me,
Yeah.
pretty easily.
Probably just. I don't know, like, because Brockman, Kazitsky, and Ryan, maybe more so Brockman and Ryan, they're pretty half decent players. But in saying that, they got was it 4 decent players who should go into their 22.
It's very heavy on the forward line, though. Is that
That's what they needed,
is
though.
that
Yeah.
what they needed?
Well, they only had Mitchell Lewis and Bruce.
Yeah.
Everyone else was a bit hey up there. So
Yeah, true.
You
Probably
bring in-
allows Dylan more, maybe more midfield time as well.
Mm.
Yeah, no.
Well, when you consider the forward line now, it'll probably be Lewis, Chol, Gunston, Bruce, Ginnivan. That's pretty good.
Yeah, and a lot of forward craft there.
And pick 4 as well. So
Definitely. And look, Brockman, I mean, he hasn't really proven himself yet. So while
Yeah.
it's, you'd want to keep your talent if you think they're going to be good, ultimately he hasn't done anything yet. So, and neither has Ryan or Kajitsky for that matter.
Yeah.
So,
And
no-
they've got the picks in the back end of the draft, so they can what's it called, match for McCabe as well. But after, it's weird because it's 4 and then 44. So it's pretty much get a decent player in for the first pick, and then actually it's not too bad when you think about it. You get one more decent player in McCabe, and that's it.
Well,
Maybe you throw a couple flyers in the 40s.
Yeah. So the way the draft's going to work this year is the first round or two, your picks are going to be pushed up because of teams like Gold Coast jumping the queue and matching bids. But then later on, because of all the picks that they're going to use to match the bid, your later picks fall in.
Yep.
Yeah.
So pick 70 will become 55 because teams don't want to pick that many players. So it's interesting how it works. Those late picks could come in handy if the guy you like slips. It's not
True.
no certainty that
Yep.
everyone's going to have the same boards, obviously. So, yeah, I reckon they're pretty easy winners, the Hawks. But their growth is going to come internally, really.
Yep.
Now, the next team, bit to talk about here, the Demons. Now, they bring in Billings, which for a cut price, which apparently St Kilda's paying most of the money. Fair enough. That's a good, I guess, smart risk to take.
Yeah, I like it.
They bring in McAdam, who on his day can be good, but I don't think sets the world on fire.
No.
And then similar with Fullerton, pretty clear that he's going to be a backup to Gorney and maybe playing a bit of forward. And they lose Grundy, which was a massive fail.
Yeah.
Harms, who
It's whatever.
never really had the role, but he's a decent player. And then James Jordan, similar. But they do get picks 6 and 11.
I think that looks like a win to me.
I'm kind of with you because low risk move on Jack Billings. I actually think McAdam's all right. He has a decent forward craft, a lot of flair. And then now they're going into this draft being a good team. They're not even though they had a bad season by their lofty standards, they're a good team with 6 and 11. Like that's not too bad, man. And obviously the 11, where do they get the 11 from? That's not their own pick. They traded up for that.
Was there the trade with
Gold Coast? It was a Gold Coast involved trade, I'm pretty sure, because that was their pick that they got from the Dogs.
Right.
So it was Dogs, Gold Coast, Melbourne. So yeah, no, I'm pretty I think it's a win generally. Like you lose the guys that you've lost. Grundy, you didn't care for. Harms, you didn't care for. Jordan, you didn't care for. The Grundy going, although he's a high end player, that's more bad on your previous trade period, not this one.
Yep.
So yeah, no, I'm with Georgie. They're winners.
I'll give them a meh. I don't think it's anything to praise really overall, but
Who's dropping to that pick 11, which will be 13 after the Father Sons? Or not Father Sons, the academies.
could be a few. There's a bunch of wingmen halfbacks, like Caleb Windsor. He's probably the best one at the moment.
Leak as well.
Leak's solid. He's
Yeah.
sort of like a Bailey Fritsch-ish kind of player.
Okay.
Good mark, sort of medium size. Look, ultimately for them, that pick 6 is the one that they're going to get a really good player.
Yeah.
And then 11, it's less likely to be an absolute star, but you just never know.
The other thing is you're looking at a name like Jack Billings, and it's an exciting name, but at the same time, he's a pick 2.
Yeah.
He's old now. He'd be like 26, 27 Billings. He's done nothing his whole career. There's no guarantee he does anything in Melbourne.
But they didn't give much for him. So it's just high potential, low risk.
But really for them, there's issues, right? So we mentioned Smith, Clary, big
Yeah.
issues.
If that's counted into this trade period, then they're
Then
losers.
they're massive.
Massive losers.
It
man.
won't count really, but let's talk about it. Right.
Yeah.
So Clary, he's almost left. There's all this turmoil. No one really knows what's going on.
Mm.
Apparently, he stays over Gorney's house and everything's better.
Daddy
Mm.
gone.
And then
Yeah.
apparently he's in the hospital. No one really
Yeah.
knows what's going on there.
Apparently, Joel Smith was with him.
Joel
that
Smith
night.
was with him, and now he's been apparently reporting a positive cocaine test.
Yeah.
So the max
before
penalty
round
is
20.
4 years. Max penalty is 4 years. He could be out of the game.
Oh.
Well, whatever it is, ultimately, like obviously, you can connect the dots and say maybe something's going on. We don't know for sure, but then there's the video of Clary seeming like he's having a good time kicking walls. Like, what is going on?
With
man?
with a table tennis bat.
Yeah. So he kicks the table tennis bat into the wall, and then he thought, nah, I didn't, fuck up the wall more like enough. So he just goes again.
Concerning, man. I didn't know that he was of that life, to be honest. Like, he never really was in the news for those reasons. But
The thing that's crazy is that he's improved his aerobic capacity so much. How do you do that and be that much of a
But
punny
that's what
animal?
I think. It's like, how do these guys do it, man? I
That's-
can hardly run like 5Ks, and like I'm dying. I'm like crawling on my knees to get there.
This dude's like, doing a few lines and, knocking a few bevies. And then the next day running.
40 possessions, 10 tackles, and
Yeah.
15 Ks.
These dudes are unbelievable, man.
it's pretty crazy, man. But look, ultimately, it's not looking good for like the culture of Melbourne. When you consider like Petrarca, who's like the poster boy.
Yeah.
But
And then his
Petrarca-
running mate is Clary, who obviously now it seems like they're not so similar after
No,
all.
I think
No.
Petrarca seems like a good kid.
Yeah, he makes lasagna.
Yeah, he loves his yeah.
Cooks with Norma. Yeah.
So maybe, I don't know, man.
I'm tipping Melbourne to go down next year.
Yeah.
A lot of teams fighting up.
You say that, but
Culture-wise, they seem a bit.
they still almost knocked off Collingwood without a forward line.
They almost knocked off the Blues too.
Yeah. Look,
But they did it.
But they did.
But they didn't. Nah, look, I think that they're going to still be around the top 4 mark, to be honest with you. But
Yeah, but if they don't finish top 4, remember this is a team that's finished top 4 the last 2 years and lost all their finals. They've got to do something to get back to the premiership.
I don't think they did it, really.
I don't think they'll do it. But the 6 and 11 can help them with their future.
Correct.
But I don't think they're there just yet. There's something wrong with this team. Their forward line structure hasn't been sorted. Joel Smith looked like he was having some potential. He's not going to be playing, at least in the immediate. He won't be playing round 1.
Yeah, you wouldn't have thought.
So will Fullerton come in and play a nice role? It's good that they kept Petty as a result. But yeah, like none of these names are that exciting. Probably Van Ruin's most exciting, but he's 20.
Yeah, how much can you expect of him, really?
Nothing.
Even though his physical development, I'll give him full credit. Like, he's ready to be a key forward, but at the same time, he's still young. So,
he can take a big contested mark, but you can't rely on him to do it every
nor
week.
should you have to, really.
Yeah,
you
exactly
shouldn't
right. Exactly.
Fair enough, man. The next team, North Melbourne. So, we've brought in Dylan Stevens, Zach Fisher, and Biggie Nguyen.
Yeah.
Mackay and Goldstein have left. Now, that was via the trade free agency. We also have lost, of course, Cunners, who wasn't in the team this year. Aaron Hall, same. Zeeble. Is that everyone?
There's a lot of experience that's left. It's probably like 1,000+ games of experience that's left. But in saying that, we managed to get pick 3 out of Mackay, which is crazy for this injury-prone key back who can hardly walk. And then you get Dylan Stevens and Zach Fisher.
Can hardly walk.
No, that's it. I don't know why I said that. It just it sounded good coming out of my mouth. But what's it called? Dylan Stevens and Zach Fisher, who were 2 targets, that we went and recruited and we wanted. We got them for relatively cheap.
And we did bring in as well Toby Pink, who's not on the list for some reason.
Yeah.
Maybe because he wasn't from an AFL team.
Yeah,
But
Biggie Nguyen and Toby Pink on like small deals, not expensive, low risk, in a position of need. Why not?
Yeah.
And all those picks that we're getting. So, win.
Yeah, I think it's clearly a win with the assistance from the AFL, with the pick 3 from Ben Mackay. Like that in itself is a win. So you guys are going to pick up at least 2 superstars, or looks like superstars, as well.
Whether
so
it be McKercher,
Well, they've,
Dersma.
list manager Brady Rawlings has said we're going to take 5 picks into the draft. Now, which 5 of those will it be? Looks like it might change depending on trades. There's 6 there currently. 2, 3, 15, 17, 18, 57, 82, forget about it because that'll be just passed in. But up until 57, there's 5 picks. So very interesting. Look, for me, obviously, you're losing experienced players. So the back of your mind, you're sort of worried like, geez, we're hoping to climb the ladder, but do we have enough experience?
I think your backline is the issue, right?
It is, and here's where
Because you lost Zeeble as well.
yeah, and here's where I do hold a bit of hope though, is that Mackay, while definitely a good player and a big loss, he never was the reason we're winning games or losing games. Simple fact of the rest of our team wasn't good enough, and the ball was coming in. It could have been Stephen May and Jake Lever back there. We were still going to get loss after loss.
Yeah.
So,
And here's the thing: we've lost players, but our best players have been the young guys. Like
Exactly.
it's been Sheasel, it's been Wardlaw when he's been out there, it's been LDU, it's been Taron Thomas. All those older dudes, like Cunners, we like. Sad to say, we're not really going to miss what he did last year. We're not going to miss what Zeeble did last year that much because we were dropping him towards the end of the season. So, big deal. You know, other dudes, Kane Turner, Aiden Bonner, all these dudes that we're dropping, they're dudes who just they're not going to make any other list.
Was Bonner? I keep confusing this. Was Bonner from GWS?
Yes.
So you paid something for him?
not
a lot.
much, but
third round pick probably.
Oh, third round.
yeah.
But yeah, he was a high pick. He might have been like pick 8 or something.
Yeah, then got traded to him, but useless.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, he was never good.
I think overall though, look, we have a few risky sort of like throw a dart at the dartboard, so to speak, guys in Big Inyun and Toby Pink. See how that goes. No expectation on them. But Stevens and Fisher feel a need in that they've got some skill. And quite frankly, our team, especially in the back half and on the wings, we need more skill. So it can only be good, and the picks are very exciting. So yeah, I'll give us a win, but at the same time, it all would just come down to how well we draft, really.
Yeah, for sure. Because then, those trades have actual meaning. You know, getting, those 15, 17, 18.
Exactly.
There's not enough context now.
Yeah. And I mean, it always gets the comparison of like Port Adelaide's draft a few years ago, Rozzy, Dersma, Butters, sort of transformed and reinvigorated them. Obviously, they were starting and not as a bottom 4 team for 4 or 5 years, but ultimately, if you get it right, things can change pretty quickly. So that's the hope of us North fans.
Yeah.
And speaking of Port, so they've brought in quite a few players as well. Esava Radagalia, Ivan Soldo, who will be their number 1 ruck, Jordan Sweet as their number 2, and Zerk Thatcher. And they've only lost Dersma.
I think this is a win, man. Just because they're a top 4 team that needed backman, that's got backman.
And Ruckman. And they got
And
Ruckman.
a ruckman. So they got what they needed. It's not like they're going to fall off.
No.
Whether they've got what it takes to be premiership, or only one team gets to win it. But yeah, I think it's a win, man.
Yeah. Like, sucks to lose Dersma, but I think, like, considering you're bringing in your key defender who can take a big forward, getting another key defender who can play on mediums, and the 2 ruckmen who are actually really solid. Like, Soldo, he's a number 1 ruck, not in the best teams, not in the top. He's not in the top 10 rucks or top 15 rucks, but he's still, worthy of, being a number 1 ruck.
Yep.
And Sweet as well, a little bit. We don't know a lot about him because, he's only really done it at VFL level. But what he did in VFL level was dominate. So, wins.
Definitely
Wins
winners for me as well. The only concerning thing being their only pick is pick 73. So they're sort of going all in over the next few years. If they don't achieve anything, then how well are they preparing for the future? Time will tell. But obviously, for this window specifically, they've done well.
Yeah, but their future is Rosie, Butters, now Horn Francis, and
There's a few high enders, but in terms of the overall squad, a few good players might not be enough long term. But willing to bet they'll be good for the next couple of years for sure.
Yeah.
Tigers.
This can't be a win.
In is Kazitsky, who he's played a few games, but really is not a known goal kicker. And they've lost Big Inyun, again, not really playing. And Soldo, who is their ruck depth, actually. So
Yeah.
considering Nug's not getting any younger.
I'd say, you know what? It's a loss. So they're losers. But in saying that, because they traded their assets last year, it looks worse.
Yes.
Like, because they lost their future first this year from the trade, the Hopper trade or the Toronto trade, whichever one it was. So, yeah, they're losers, but like it's kind of hard. I don't really know what they could have done, to be honest, to make them meh or winners. So,
Yeah. Well, look, if Tom Lynch isn't fit, they need a really good year from Dusty, Bolton, Toronto. Like, they do have star players still, but a couple of their high-end picks recently, like Gipkus, he's dealing with apparently like really significant hamstring issues. He's flying to, what is it, Qatar or something?
Qatar, to try to sort that out.
So,
wow, that's crazy.
So they're youngsters. I don't know which of them are actually the ones to watch out for next year, but they're going to need something because they don't really have high-end picks this year. Hopper needs to really get good. So for me, they're definitely losers this period, but they're a bit of an unknown commodity moving forward as
Yeah,
well.
I know. Well, the new coach, let's see what that does to their game style and
Yep.
and how they play. But yeah, there's nothing that's changed here that makes you go, I'm excited for Richmond next year.
Yep. The Saints, so they brought in Paddy Dow, bit of midfield depth for them, and Liam Henry, and they've lost Gresham, Caulfield, and Billings.
Look, I think the players that they've lost, apart from Gresham, are kind of meh, right?
But they're on money.
Yeah.
I think they've got rid of some. I think they're going to go big next year on some high end talent because I think they've dumped a bit of cash.
Yeah, but the thing is they're paying for Billings, I think.
Not the whole thing though.
Yeah, true. Gresham would be big money.
He's big money.
He would have been.
He was big money. And
Yeah.
I think Caulfield was decent as well.
And to be honest, I like Paddy Dow as a dude who gives him depth, and also I don't know, he could fit really well with Jack Steele and Brad Crouch. And if one of those guys gets injured, he's going to go and replace that exact output basically. And Liam Henry's a great pickup as well. It's between meh and a winner for me.
Yeah, I think it's like a Met 0.5. I think
Met
I
0.5.
do think they need more high end talent. That's clear. Is this just one of those years where they take pick 13, they take pick 21, try to get some value, and they put together a war chest for some superstar next year that really takes them to the next level? They're going to be competitive. They're under Ross line, so they're going to stick around. I think Henry helps with their outside run, which they've got some of those outside players that complement Jack Sinclair, Brad Hill. And Dow just adds a bit of grunt in their midfield. So I don't think it's bad, but it's not earth-shattering either.
Agreed.
So, yeah. We'll see how they go. Pick 13 and pick 21. So 21 was from the Gresham deal. So, yeah, from the Gresham deal. So, yeah, I'd be pretty happy with them, to be honest with you. Like, it's nothing crazy, but, yeah.
I agree, boys.
Now,
The Swans.
They might be number one.
I think they're clearly number one, man.
So
Yeah.
James Jordan comes in, probably replacing Dylan Stevens, probably in and out of the team next year. Then there's Grundy, the big one. Hamling, who, if he's fit, feels the need. And then Taylor Adams. Definitely good compliment to Warner and Goulden and those guys.
That's a Grundy as well.
Well, the Swans needed more consistent, contested clearance players, right? So they get a really, really good ruckman, and Adams is going to put some output out over the next year or two, and they work together. That just strengthens their midfield significantly. I think it's a big win, man.
Yeah, and they've managed to keep pick 12, and they do have our future and the first as well. So they're very well done.
I
well
think
played.
When you consider their on-ballers now, so Grundy, who now that he'll be the number one ruck, we know how good he can be.
He's a gun.
And
Right?
he'll be out of the Melbourne sort of hype and stuff. Like he'll probably play his best footy again, I would imagine.
Yeah, well, look how he played when Gawn wasn't there this year.
Yeah.
He was great. Like,
So you got him, and then a midfield of a combination of Adams, Stevens, Goulden, Parker. Like you don't need much more than that, really. So,
and both those players are probably as hungry as they've ever been now. Like Adams missed out on a premiership.
and you think about it, Grundy kind of did as well.
He did.
Because he left Collingwood.
He did.
And earlier, and now he's didn't work out at Melbourne. Can you imagine, like, instead of being a premiership ruckman, you went to Melbourne and you weren't even playing in the finals?
That's right.
You'd feel sick to the stomach.
Yeah.
So
especially because the domino wasn't even started by him. He didn't really want to leave Collingwood, right? So
no.
this has all sort of happened to him, against his own will, really.
Yeah.
But they're in a team that they'd be thinking, all right, we could make something happen here. Sydney's a very good team, man.
Oh, yeah.
They just need those parts just to play their role. They made the finals they shouldn't have, but they weren't easy beats.
Yeah.
Carlton just won against them.
Their only issue next year is Mills is injured.
Yeah, that affects them.
But if their key position players can stay fit, they'll be a good side.
Well, Adams will sub in for Mills directly.
Pretty much.
For
Yeah.
the midfield role. Like
100%.
obviously Mills is their captain, he's a leader. He can play around the ground as needed. But in terms of grunt in the midfield, he adds to that straight away. So
you just hope that one of Amadi, McLean, Logan McDonald, one of those kicks, 40 goals.
I think
50
they'll
goals.
all improve. All three of them will improve.
Yeah. Just if one of them can be consistent, play every game, and, be a consistent threat, it looks pretty good.
Yeah.
Hamling bolstering the defense, which they needed. Yeah, I like it. I like it from the Sydney Swans.
Yep.
Yeah, definitely winners. And then there's West Coast, right? So they've brought in Brockman and Flynn, In the trade and free agency, they didn't lose anyone, but they've had heaps of retirees.
Yeah.
So let's factor that in as well. Look, considering they've brought in 2 players, being such a bad team, to be able to recruit anybody is sort of a win there.
They're going to be so bad next year, man.
Yeah, they will be.
Oh my god, they're
Yeah,
gonna be so
it's
bad.
meh. It's meh for me. Good on them for getting Brockman and Flynn, but it's meh.
Is
Yeah.
the biggest thing still yet to come with West Coast?
Yes.
That's still yet to come.
Look, honestly, if I can just jump in for a second, Matsa, like
100%,
they've got pick
yeah.
1, 23, 37, and then some later ones. If I'm the Eagles, and this isn't even speaking as a North fan, but like if North's going to offer you 2 and 15, just one more extra first round pick, you should do that. North shouldn't be offering more, to be honest, because these guys need more talent. Those picks aren't going to do it. So it's a bit of a fail on their end to not get more picks in this so far, but it's not over yet.
I would have thought they'd be more active, but
They
yeah,
could
I
still
don't know.
be. Could still be.
There's a lot of debate about what they should do. It'd be very interesting to see what happens. Did they just take the best player, the leadership of Reed as well, and say, look, you're our man. You're going to be our leader for the next 10, 15 years. And they know they've got problems and they'll just have to find a way to sort it out. They're not going to fix their team in 1 year either.
No, but at the same time, you need to try and gather the talent in because they've just got heaps of list spots and not enough there unless they nail each of the late picks, which is so hard. You
Yeah.
can't expect that.
I'm kind of with you, Dano. I think they do need to make something happen with that number 1 pick. And a question that I was going to ask you guys is who's happier without a trade done between North Melbourne and West Coast?
North.
Well, North is very happy. Either way.
100%. 2,
Yeah, North's
3,
very
and then another 3 first rounders
Yeah.
versus 1, albeit the number 1 pick. But North and West Coast need a lot of talent. So that's why I actually don't even want North to go for it, by the way. I'm happy to just sit, pick 5 guns and move on. But if North is offering an extra first round pick just to move up 1 spot,
It feels ridiculous to me, man. Like you think of it draft points wise, when you put 2 extras, when you put 17 and 18 and 2 for 1, the point differential is obscene.
Yeah.
It's like an extra 1,500 points. It's like you can't. It makes no sense from a North Melbourne perspective. And as good as Harley Reid is, like you telling me McKercher and Dersma aren't going to be game changers on their own?
Yeah, well, that's what I was saying a couple of weeks ago. I'm like, how much better is this guy than these other players? It can't be that much better. Unless he's Nick Dacos.
time will tell. He's more of an impact player. He's not going to get you 30 touches, but he'll get like 20 to 25 insane moments. So anyway, for now they're meh, but I have a feeling they're not done trading picks probably more than once in this period. So we'll see how we go on the draft. And then last but not least is the Dogs. They've brought in Harms and Caulfield and they've lost Jordan Sweet. And they've also got in pick 5, which is a crucial
they
bit
traded
of
up
the
for
business.
pick 5.
So if that's the case, it's a win for me.
Yeah.
Getting up into that part of the draft, it's a win.
That's because we're assuming that they've got enough talent to sort out what they need.
And they're also going to get father-son Jordan Boyd, who's a first round
Not
talent.
Croft.
Sorry,
Jordan
Jordan
Who
Croft.
said that 2 weeks in a row? Jordan
Did
Boyd.
I? Oh my god.
Yeah.
He's coming out of retirement.
Matty Boyd. Matty Boyd's boy.
See, it's not. Actually, I was gonna. Don't worry about what I was gonna say. I was gonna say something like it's not Bond, it's Croft, like Lara Croft, but it's not even Bond. It's fucking Boyd. So apologies, lads. There was a possible joke there, and it just didn't. It didn't work out. I'm disappointed.
That's all right. We'll forgive you.
Thanks, man.
So they'll bring in
The effort's what counts, bro.
They'll bring in pick 5 and pick once they match the bid, pick 10, 15, wherever he goes. So they'll get 2 first rounders, Harms and Caulfield, and they've lost Sweet. Pretty easy winners for me. But yeah, anything to add on the Doggies?
No.
I've said it every week, and I'm going to say it continuously. I have no idea what this team is, man.
Yeah,
Fair
Bevo
enough,
out.
man.
Bevo out. Unless it says Bevo out in those outs, then it's not a win for me.
Fair enough, man. Jeez.
Hashtag Bevo out. You heard it here first. Like she definitely didn't hear it here first. I'm sure everyone's been saying it. Can't be just us who want Bevo out. But what can you say, man? What can you say?
That's it. So that's it for the teams, boys. A few winners there, a few losers, but honestly, a lot of it's just TBD. We kind of said meh for a lot of these teams. I guess we'll see how they draft and what other moves they make.
There was no crazy moves. There's no crazy players
No.
going. Like probably the best player to move is Grundy.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Like considering last year, Horn Francis, Dunkley, like just those two, they were seismic, trades that happened. So
What was the Richter scale of the seismic?
8.9. 9.
A plus. Jeez. That's like people are dying.
That's city destroying.
People died because Horn Francis and Dunkley left.
A bit of me died when Horn Francis left. To be fair,
There you go.
that was such a tough time. Like, can you think back then when that happened, and then we got Clarko, which was cool, but then he says he wants to leave, and then Clarko got the whole, the scandal, the Clarko, the scandal that happened, the Hawthorn thing. The depression that I had as a North fan during that time was crazy, and now just the contrast of this. Man, we had a pretty decent second half of the season where we showed a bit of promise, even though we didn't get a lot of wins. We showed promise. Now we've got all these picks to play with. We've got Stevens, we've got Fisher, we've got Toby Pink. You know what I mean? Like,
What's the chance Toby Pink even gets one game, bro?
no, he'll play.
high because we've got Logue out and just Aiden Core as the key defender.
Well.
He'll play round 1.
Core and
102 defender in Supercoach. So get
then
it.
I'm happy. I need all the 102s I can get.
Core, Biggie Newen, and Pink can all play round 1 next year easily.
Maybe.
Oh my god! I hope we verse you guys early, man.
I hope we verse you guys early
Oh,
because you were shot in the first half of the year.
Yeah. We'll be good next. We'll be ready to go.
You reckon Toby Pink can't take Charlie Kerner? I reckon he's got him easy, bro.
That's a 10-goaler if I've ever seen it.
It's better than Aiden Bonner playing on him like last year or this year rather.
True.
Anyway,
Well,
Matsa, did you want to talk a bit of draft? You had a
Yeah,
question?
so I wanted to pose the question to Dino because he's our draft fanatic.
Self-proclaimed.
Yeah, self-proclaimed
It's
draft.
not self anymore if we're proclaiming it.
Fair enough.
Yeah, so I want you, Dino, to give us your top 10 players in this draft, as your power rankings, we'll say, and give us a comp if you want as well.
We'll compare it to Cal Toomey's at the end to see who's more accurate.
Yeah, well, look, as you guys know, I'm a massive Cal Toomey fan. So this is sort of like out of respect that I'm comparing my own form guide versus his, right? So I've got a bit of a shake-up at 1, and you guys are going to be a bit stunned by this.
Okay.
Number 1 is not Harley Reid. Number 1 is Jed Walter.
Oh.
Now, here's the thing with this guy. All year, he's dominated.
Yeah.
But no one talks about him because everyone knows he's going to Gold Coast. So the hype is just dead, and no one's even bothering watching what he does because they know he's going to Gold Coast. And it's sort of excluding him from your draft chat because he's not on the available board. But I'm telling you now, go watch his footage. Look at this guy's body for a 17, 18-year-old. He is a unit. There is no key forward that's come out of the draft like him body-wise. Like there's your King brothers and Ugle-Hagen and these sort of guys. But no one's been drafted with this kind of body and output. He kicks goals for fun.
Fair.
My comp for him, Charlie Kerner.
Yeah, that's what people are saying.
But I've also got a second. So for each of these players, I've got 2 comps. So Kerno, and this one's going to sound a bit funny, but think of the last couple of weeks of the year, Jesse Hogan.
Okay.
Body-wise, like just huge man, great mark.
Okay.
So for me, the Harley Reid thing comes in now at 2. So number 2 is Harley Reid. This kid is a freak. Like you could flip them. For me, just personally, I think key forwards are more rare. But this kid is basically, I've got written here, Dusty Martin, Toby Green level of just pound for pound and considering his height, just strength, power, arrogance, just an absolute gun of a player. He'll be top 5 in the comp for years. Love him, but he doesn't get 30 touches a game, which is my only reservation. At this point of his career, you look at his numbers.
What's his running power like? Like
solid.
solid.
Could get better though. So for me, he's got all the talent in the world. If he's focused, he will become Dusty Martin level dominance and game-changing ability. But at the moment, he only gets about 20-odd touches a game, high impact. But I'm just having a slight reservation. And for me, the key forward of such a unique physical specimen of Jed Walter just goes number 1 over him. Okay. Number 3, Colby McKercher. The easy comp is Zach Merritt. Left footer, bit smaller, zippy, quick, skillful. But my other one is Lockie Neal. Okay. So similar body type. Neal's put on some muscle as he's gotten older. But think of when he was younger, just in and under, really quick, really evasive. Very similar players from my point of view.
Okay.
And I read recently, he apparently before he was so busy this year with all the draft stuff, he was watching 7 games of AFL a week.
That's mad.
If that's not an AFL enjoyer, I don't know what is.
He's an AFL enjoyer.
Absolutely, he is.
100% AFL enjoyer. Good
If
on
he's
him.
a Supercoach enjoyer as well, then I love him. He's my favorite
Oh, he's
player.
the kind of player who will do well on Supercoach. I can
Oh,
almost
for
guarantee.
sure, bro.
So yeah, that's number 3. Number 4, Zane Dersma. Okay, now this kid, I remember watching last year as I was watching Sheasel and Wardlaw and these guys playing. He was always there, but as an underager for Gippsland Power. And when you look at his body, you just think to yourself, he just seems taller than the other midfielders. He comes in at about 189 at the moment, but he's got long arms. And he got the highest standing vertical at the combine the other day. And he marks. So he's sort of like a forward, but definitely midfielder hybrid. He kicked like 30 goals in each of the years, like underage, and he backed it up again this year. So he's goal kicking, X factor, long arm, like good mark. My comp for him is actually Taron Thomas as number 1. When you think about that sort of taller, long-armed midfielder with a bit of X factor going forward, and also Noah Anderson. Okay, so
Nice.
for me, I just really rate those midfielders that can kick multiple goals. Like Taron Thomas, when he's at his best, he'll get 25 and 2 goals. And those guys are just worth gold.
Yeah, X Factor.
Big time. Number 5, Daniel Curtin. So everyone's talking about this guy like he's like the best key back in the class. I think that's a miscalculation of what he actually is. He's not a lockdown play me just pure defense. This guy can take the game on. He's played midfield. He's played a bit of forward. There's no really telling what he'll be, but he's tall. He's like 195 and possibly some reports are showing him to be more like 196. And they're still young, so he might grow a little bit. I've got him down as Jordan Dawson / Darcy Moore.
Oh,
That's
a range, bro.
It's a range. Now, time will tell if his character is like that of a Moore where he can be a leader, and Dawson. But quite frankly, like Dawson is a tall defender that's turned into a mid, or rather a medium defender that's turned into a tall mid. Darcy Moore isn't a pure lockdown. Like he's a playmaker from the back as well. So that's why I've got him like that.
Nice.
Number 6 is Riley Sanders.
Okay.
Now, this guy's been unfairly pigeonholed as like old school accumulator, but no outside pace. Watch his footage. There's nothing he doesn't do that you wouldn't want a midfielder to do. Explodes out of packs, takes the game on, gets like 30, 35 touches for fun. I've got him down as Horn Francis, not only because he looks like him, but I think he kind of plays like him as well. And also, and this is a bit like, think back to his prime, Matt Crouch. So Matt Crouch in his prime, definitely the accumulation, the sort of poise on the ball, hard to tackle, things like that, but mainly the athleticism of a Horn Francis. So that's sort of the hybrid I'm thinking of.
Okay. That'd be a great hybrid, to be honest. Taller, Horn Francis, accumulator. Yeah.
I think he's a gun. And this is why I'm not really trying hard to talk about these guys because I think they're all guns. Like any of these guys could go top 3, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So far. The next one, Nick Watson. So probably the most fun guy to watch. He's small, but and here's the comp, Brent Harvey vibes. Okay, so...
right in the fields.
Right in the fields,
right in
man.
the fields.
You watch him play, he takes the game on. He doesn't have like a defined role yet. He's a gun forward. He can kick goals. But what else can he be? That's why I've got him sliding. Can he be an impactful midfielder like a Daniel at times or a halfback? Or is he just going to be really good small forward? I don't know. That's why he slipped a bit. The other comp was Stevie Milne as a forward. So if he plays full forward, like pocket, I reckon he could have Milne type.
Is it like as a forward, but as a person?
I got no idea. So that's him there. Now, number 8, Connor O'Sullivan. This one I had a very hard time finding a comp for because he's 197, 198. Definitely a defender, but he's also played midfield. Not that I would expect it at AFL level. So I'm just trying to think he'll be a defender. He's the best key defender in the class for me. I've got him down as best case scenario, Jacob Wiedering, but also Tall Will Day.
You've got him as Tall Will Day.
He's the Tall Will Day.
There you go.
Okay, so...
I love these like hybrid, like
well,
half tiger, half bear type of like.
I found it hard just comparing to one player. I think that's a bit boring. So Wiedering for if he puts on size, I think he can be that good. But also he's at ground level a really good player as well. And hence he played midfield this year. So gun. Then at 9, there's Nick Caddy.
Okay.
So
Nate.
Sorry, Nate Caddy. He's an interesting one. 192 centimeter forward. But then he'll have games where he gets like 25 touches and 8 tackles and plays a bit of midfield. And you're thinking, what's going on there? Like, what position will he actually be? I think it'll be a forward. I've got him down as a comp, Jack Rewalt / TBD on the potential here, but Riccardi. So a bit more of that not traditional, just I'm only a forward, but at ground level, bit useful as well. Good hands, good athleticism.
Here's the interesting thing with him is that I've noticed that like in like draft mocks and this and that, a lot of them are saying 193 centimeters now. They've credited him an extra centimeter. So does that help his draft stock? Maybe.
Oh, look,
His hair was just extra spiky that day.
Maybe that's what it was.
they are 17, 18 years old, so you would expect them to grow another centimeter probably.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, Cripps grew at least 5 centimeters
Yeah,
from his draft.
that's crazy.
And it happens in the NBA as well. Like Giannis 6'11" ended up being 6'9" and then became 6'11". Same with Ben Simmons. He might have gone from like 6'8" to 6'10" or something.
Yeah,
So yeah.
it's wild. But I really like him as well. And then there's Ethan Reed as a ruckman. He's going to go to Gold Coast, unfortunately, as well. You sort of watch him and you think once he puts on muscle, he'll be as skillful as your Jackson/Gorn, just can do it all kind of ruck. So you never know with the ruckman, but I think he's been good enough to deserve that praise, and really athletic as well. So that's the top 10. Bit different than a few others.
Is there any players that are kind of missed out that are still touted?
No. So here's what I wanted to add now, right? Up until Nick Watson, so at 7, I think you can shuffle that board on most teams' lists. I think Reed's probably 1 on most boards. Walter's 2 on most boards. But then from 3, so McKercher, Dersma, Curtin, Sanders, Watson, I reckon, honestly, you can have every team having a different order, in my opinion, which goes to show it's a very strong 6 or 7. Then O'Sullivan and Caddy, for me, very clearly are the next best 2. I'll be surprised if someone's taken before them. And then Reed, I sort of put there because I know he's very good, even though he's a ruckman and it'll take time. After that, it's a bit shaky. That's why people say the top 10 is really good, and then after that, it drops off. It definitely drops off, but there's good players. Like you watch the highlight reels of all these kids. And also, big shout out to the YouTube channel, Footy Stuff. This guy or girl puts together these clip videos of the performances per game of these players with even the lowlights. So just every interaction they had around the ball. So it really helps you get a good gauge of their strengths, weaknesses. But no, man, I love the draft. I love that North is owning the first round of the draft. Because this is all I ever wanted.
Yeah.
So if we get 2 of those guys at the top, happy boy.
Nice, man. Nah, well said on all of those, Dino. I like that it was a bit different as well, you know. And something tells me that's what you actually believe. You're not just trying to be different. You know what I mean?
No.
This is pure heart, belief, soul.
If North had picked 1, I would demand they take Walter. If they took Reed, I'd be low-key upset. Just because we need a key forward desperately. So
yeah, fair
take
enough.
that for what it's worth.
Yeah, well, look, JW West went for a tall in Cadman.
Talls have gone historically number 1 often.
I will say this though, Cadman went 1 last year. There is no comparison between Walter and Cadman's readiness for the AFL.
Yeah.
Zero. Cadman can be a gun, I'm sure of it. But Walter is going to walk into the Suns at 22 and be a problem, in my opinion.
Jeez.
There we go. Nah, I like it. Are we going to do that other question that was posed to us?
Yeah, so one of our most loyal AFL Enjoyers fans, JL, John, he posed the question to us a few weeks ago. And he deliberately said, make this a postseason question. So here you go, John. Which team over the next 5 years or around that 5-year mark will be contending for the premiership?
So I would say North, a bit of a homer pick. But you think of all...
That's more towards the 5, I think.
Yeah,
Fair.
towards the 5. I'm going to say, in 5 years, I think that North Melbourne will be contending in the top 4. Really, they just need to hold on to the talent that they have because there's a lot of high-end talent already and they're going to add more this year and next year through the draft. So I think, we'll definitely be contending.
All right. What do you think, George?
Carlton. These answers are just no.
Maybe let's give non-Carlton or North responses.
All right, let's.
That?
I'm going to quickly go through. So Collingwood, I think, will be around it for the next couple of years. No reason for them to drop off.
But 5?
Not 5. But this is the thing: is 0 to 5 is too long of a range, bro.
That's the fun in the prediction, right?
Exactly.
So we know Collingwood will be good for the next 2 or 3 years.
So you're saying in 5 years? 5 is.
Let's say in 5 years.
Okay.
Who will be up there in the top 4 contending for a
I
premiership?
think Sydney.
Interesting. Yep.
They always recruit well. They've got some young superstars. They've got a good culture. I think Hawks.
Mm.
Hawks and North, I'm happy to say, and I think even Gold Coast. If it's 5 years, you've got to think about the teams that are rebuilding. Hawthorn have a real clear plan in the way they want to play. They've got a really good coach, and they've got a lot of young players. And we've already seen Hawthorn dominate passages or periods of games. They just haven't put it together. They will do that over the next couple of years. They'll torch teams with this kind of like slingshotty kind of. I think they can even do it even better than Collingwood does it.
Well, you look at just the names, right? Will Day, Jai Newcomb, who was in the All-Australian squad this year. In the defence, you have Sicily. You have Weddle running down. You know,
But you even look like Mackenzie, Ward, Connor McDonald. They're going to get a pick 4 here. I mean, and I think it's the fact that they've got, I feel like, a really, really good coach and knows exactly where he wants to go. He's even talked about the fact that where he sees footy, where he sees the game plan moving, he's already structured for that. He's already structured for that kind of GWS Collingwood type of game style. I think they're going to be deadly. I think they're going to be scary. You guys, if you just throw draft picks at a team, eventually they become good. That's what happened to Carlton. And then, I don't know, West Coast, who knows what they're going to do. Will Fremantle ever get good? Maybe in 5 years.
we need to talk about Gold Coast.
Gold Coast, I think they'll be good even next year.
If they keep King, if Walter's as good as I think he is, their midfield's good, their key defenders are good. I think there's enough talent there, but yeah, it'll depend on filling the gaps, like at the back end of the 22. If they can get really good role players, definitely.
I think Gold Coast will be elite in 2 to 3 years.
Yeah, no, I think they're going to be a tough team to beat, to be honest with you, because the challenge for them really is trying to maintain the talent, because they always seem to have a bit of an exodus of players trying to leave back to Victoria, back to Adelaide, wherever they're from. So, yeah.
It can swing though if they've got their culture right. If they start winning games, I think they can maintain it. It's the hardest part is when you're losing. There's not a strong enough culture. People want to go back home. If they come to a really strong system that's winning games, that's playing home games and winning, the membership goes up, becomes a bit of a fortress. You can change the narrative.
And Gold Coast, not the worst place to live either. So
No, it's not.
that's one, strong factor of wanting to play there.
And the thing about them is they're hard to beat at home because of the conditions, right, in Gold Coast. So if they become a strong team, and then teams are going up there, it's very hard to win up there. If they're a good team as well, they're like Brisbane, they're reinforcing their wins, and their home and away season's always strong, so they're always up there. So, yeah, I think they're good.
I have one more, right?
Go for it.
And it's a team with a lot of young key position players, and by then they'll all be that bit stronger, they'll be a bit smarter, a bit wiser, and a lot of their midfield talent is still young. The Western Bulldogs.
Yeah,
Definitely from a tools perspective, I agree, 100%.
Darcy, Croft,
Jamara.
Norton.
Bond will still be decent in 5 years. Like Libba will probably be finished by
but then they
you'd
might
think.
draft Sanders and replace Libba.
Exactly right. So that's a team.
Bailey Smith is still young.
Yeah. So when you just think of the talent that they have and the fact that it's in key positions as well, which is so important in the modern game. Yeah.
That's a good shout. I like it.
All right.
Very good. I think that's it for today, boys.
Yeah.
We'll TBD on what we'll talk about next week, but obviously ramping up to the draft now, so I'm sure there'll be some general news to talk about, some draft analysis, and anything else. Let us know if you want us to talk about anything in particular. But otherwise, thanks very much for watching and listening, and we'll see you guys on the next one.
Thank you.
Thanks.